of the Landmarks Commission. Madam Chair, I believe we have a quorum of commissioners.
Okay.
And so,
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'll call it to order. Good afternoon. The Memphis Landmarks Commission is hereby called to order for its regularly scheduled meeting of April the 29th, 2021. My name is Cindy Grivich-Tucker. I'm the chairperson of the commission. Mr. Brett Ragsdale serves as the executive secretary of the commission. Mr. Ragsdale, may I get a roll call?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Boyd.
Here.
Ms. Cox. I don't believe Ms. Cox is on with us right now. Mr. Gill.
Here.
Ms. Payne.
Here.
Ms. Strong.
Here.
And Madam Chair, Ms. Tucker.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. The Memphis, this is where I go to, since I'm new for this part, this is where I go to the Memphis Landmarks Commission. Explain that. Is that correct in the script? Okay. The Memphis Landmarks Commission, excuse me. I heard some other voices. Okay, the Memphis Landmarks Commission and the historic and the local historic district provisions are established to ensure preservation of structures that are of historic value to Memphis. Our function is to preserve significant resources, enhance community pride, and foster civic beauty, and ensure compatibility within designated historic districts. The commission is authorized to review projects and determine their appropriateness based on the design review guidelines. At this time, I would like to swear in the staff. You ready? Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Staff? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. May I get a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting? One of the commissioners who have read the meeting notes from last month? I'm not hearing anything.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes from last month.
Okay, can I have a second?
I second. This is Margot
Thank
Payne.
you. Okay, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Mr. Secretary, please provide us a secretary's report if there is one for this month, and then explain the procedure for this meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is no secretary's report, but I would just like to welcome our newly elected chair, and thank you for chairing several meetings for us in the past. And so we are glad this is your first official meeting as chair. So thank you.
Okay.
And now I'll explain the procedures for the meeting. The procedure for this meeting will be as follows. I will introduce each case as listed on the agenda. For each case, staff with the Division of Planning and Development will give a presentation. At the conclusion of the staff presentation,
I lost you.
Can you hear me?
You're going in and out.
Okay, let me see.
Can't hear you. Go ahead.
At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the applicant will have 5 minutes to present his or her case. After the applicant's presentation, the commission will hear first from those speakers in support of the application, then from those speakers in opposition to the application, and the speakers will have 3 minutes each. And then finally, the applicant will have 3 minutes to provide rebuttal. These times do not include time for questions from and answers to members of the commission.
You're gone.
Oh, okay, so is my mic working okay? Okay, so Cindy, it may be a thing with your speaker, so I'll continue with
I'm hearing
this.
you on too, Brett.
Okay. So testimony, let me step back to the last sentence. The chairwoman may provide additional time provided both sides are given an equal amount of additional time. All parties who wish to provide testimony to the commission will be sworn in by the chairwoman. We have a number of speakers who informed the staff prior to the meet. Actually, this is not valid today, so I will just say we actually have no speakers that have signed up for opposition or in support. So, but I will just continue reading this. But if we did have speakers, they would be able to give their testimony in this hearing. So all motions by the commission will be made in the affirmative. The bylaws governing the commission require the affirmative vote of majority of the attending members to approve an application, regardless of the number of commission members present. The commission may also vote to hold an application for a period of 30 days. Madam Chair, I submit that all cases have been filed in order. All applicants of this hearing and all notice requirements have been fulfilled.
Okay, so from here, we're going to approval of the consent agenda. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. At this point, the commission will establish a consent agenda. The secretary will call out each eligible case. The purpose, do you want me to read the purpose of the consent agenda, or is that you?
Yes, you can, Madam Chair.
Okay. So the purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite approval of those cases where there is agreement among parties over the recommendations and conditions.
Madam Chair, I believe we're having difficulty with your connection. Madam Chair, we are not hearing.
Also, ineligible to be placed on the consent agenda are the cases where staff has made a recommendation of rejection, in those cases on behalf of which there are opposition speakers. Okay. Okay. Are you there?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. So,
But Madam Chair, we are having difficulty with your connection, I believe.
go ahead.
Madam Chair, we,
Follow both of these. Do you go ahead and do that? Yeah. I'm missing. If you're talking, I'm getting you.
yeah, you're breaking up here.
Not-
Can you go back to the beginning of the consent agenda, please, and see, because we're having a difficulty with your connection.
Looks like we've lost her altogether.
Okay,
I don't see her on the board at all.
okay. Thank you, Ms. Boyd.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Okay, if everyone could just give us a little time. We appreciate your patience as we are working with some new technology here. Hey, Madam Chair, I believe I see
I'm
you.
trying. I tried my phone before and it wasn't working right either.
Okay,
Okay, let me try it again.
we can hear
Let
you
me,
now.
huh?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, let's see what's going on. I mean, I have Siri. I can hear you at times, but I can't, and I see nothing. Right now I'm seeing in it nothing.
Okay. Well, I
You,
believe this connection seems to be good. So if you wouldn't mind starting back at the consent agenda, the beginning of the consent agenda,
okay.
and we can go from there.
Okay, so I read the approval of the consent agenda. Did you hear that part?
If you wouldn't mind, it was breaking up, so if you could just go back to the
Approval
beginning.
of the consent agenda and explain it?
Yes.
Okay. The purpose of the consent agenda is tied approval of those cases where there is agreement among all parties over the recommendations and conditions placed by staff. All cases placed on the consent agenda will be voted on by the commission as a group. As the consent agenda is established during the beginning of the meeting, the secretary will ask if any member of the commission would like to move any case to the regular agenda. If so, that case will be ineligible to be placed on the consent agenda. Also ineligible to be placed on the consent agenda are those cases where staff has made a recommendation of rejection, in those cases on behalf of which there are no opposition speakers. Y'all still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So now, do we go to the, so is there anything that we have to talk about as far as the consent agenda? It's been established? Do you have to read the list?
I will read the list.
Okay. So
And
once
then-
the consent is, okay, so the commission will vote on all cases placed on the consent as a whole and will now hold individual public hearings on each if they're not. Mr. Secretary, which items on our agenda are eligible for the consent?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as I mentioned earlier, we have an unusual April meeting that every item does not have opposition, and all of the applicants are amenable to our conditions. So all of our items are eligible for consent. Of course, if any commissioner would like to hear any item, please let me know as I read these. So the items eligible for consent are item number 1, NHD 20-002, Valentine Evergreen Historic District. Item number 2, COA 2021-039, 1737 Euclid Avenue, Roselle-Ansdale Historic District. And we do want to add a friendly amendment that was offered by Commissioner Strong and accepted by the applicant, that condition number 2 will read, visible portion of the concrete foundation wall height shall be minimum 18 inches above grade, and it shall be of parged concrete. Item number 3, COA 2021-040, 1408 Carr Avenue, Central Gardens Historic District. Item number 4, COA 2021-042, 1347 Harbor Avenue, Central Gardens Historic District. Item number 5 is actually a hold, so it is not on consent. Item number 6, NR 2021-001, Overton Park Court Apartments, 2095 Poplar Avenue.
Let me ask you something. Sorry, can I ask you something on that one?
Yes.
If we ask for the presentation, do we have to discuss it, or can we just, I think it's kind of interesting. Or can we just see the presentation for that?
You can approve it on consent, and then if you would like to just have the presentation from the applicant as just a matter of information, you could do that.
mean, if that's good for everybody else, I think it might be interesting to see it.
Sure. And we do have the applicant on that can.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, that is the consent agenda, and we can move forward with that.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as established by the secretary? Is there anybody that wants to see any of them before I do that? Because I'd like to remind the commission that by voting on the consent agenda, he or she affirms that he or she has read the staff report and is in full agreement with the conditions. So may I have a motion and a second?
This is Brown Gill. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, could I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Secretary, can I have a roll call?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Boyd,
Yes.
Mr. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Payne,
Yes.
Ms. Strong,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. So the presentation will be after we establish the minors, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. At this point, I would like to state that the minor COA applications as listed on the agenda have been reviewed and approved by the commission. The commission will now continue with the regular hearing of the major, which applications is listed on the agenda. So then we ask for Mr. Secretary, please call the first case, but that's moot, basically, because there isn't one, correct?
Correct.
Except to see the presentation for the one.
Correct. So at this point, if we could, Aisha, I don't know if you want to give a brief introduction to the case. We and then turn it over to Ms. Johnson.
Sure. This is Aisha Tezef with the Office of Planning and Development. This is a National Register listing nomination for multiple listings. This is a multifamily apartment building built in 1924, located at 2095 Poplar Avenue, just south side of Poplar Avenue and right at the south of Overton Park. This nomination includes two-story multifamily apartment buildings in Renaissance Revival style, and they have a unique U-shaped courtyard in front of both apartment buildings. I believe you can see the location.
I'm not
of
seeing
the apartment
anything.
building.
I'm not seeing
On
any
your-
part of the presentation. I'm seeing Judith.
Let's see. Okay.
Sorry.
If
That's
you
going
have
way
your, I'm sorry, if you have your staff report available, you can see the zoning map on page 3 of the staff report. And then there are, I believe, Google Street View visuals on page 4 showing the structures that are being nominated, looking from southeast, looking south, and looking west from South Cooper Street.
Now we can see it.
And,
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to Ms. Johnson to explain all the details of the structures.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. I need to turn on my camera? I prefer to be able to see the property. This is a really great apartment complex over in Midtown, built in the early 1920s. I was so pleased when the owners decided to redevelop it and using the historic tax credits and retaining the historic feel of the property instead of demolishing it and putting it a high rise. So they're to be congratulated on that. The apartment complex really is the epitome of what Midtown was like in the 1920s when people rode the subway downtown to work and lived out around the Midtown area there. So the apartments are quite, the interiors are stunningly preserved. They have hardwood floors and plaster walls and sunrooms and this wonderful U-shaped courtyard here that allows sunlight in every apartment. So the history, it was built by Dave Derman, who was an immigrant and a partner. Mr. Derman went later and built most of Midtown. He developed so much of the area around parkways and Overton Park. And then there's a building downtown. He has a historic business building downtown on 3rd Street, the Derman Building, which is a really great building. If you're ever at 30 Court, look up and look at the architectural detail of the cornice and all. It's really quite wonderful. So apparently, Mr. Derman actually lived in one of these apartments and for 2 or 3 years until he sold it to an owner there who's, I'm sorry, I spaced out the last name, but it was he lived there in the apartments and raised his family there. He was married and had 3 children, and one of his daughters was named Marilyn, and she ended up marrying a neighborhood boy, Jack Bells. And the rest is kind of history there. They had a lot of different tenants here, a lot of professionals, and then the mix kind of changed when you got up towards World War II. But there were single women, there was families, and interestingly enough, after Jack and Marilyn got married, they actually lived here and raised their family as well when they were young. So this park setting was quite conducive to family living and remains a real gem in Midtown. It's been used for the set of a couple of movies later on, and I'm just so glad that the owners have chosen to preserve it rather than tear it down. So hopefully the commission will like it and the board will like it up in Nashville in May, and we'll get it listed on the National Register and start the rehab.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, so at this point, I'll ask if there's any new business.
No, Madam Chair, there is not.
Okay, and then the next meeting then is Thursday, May 27th, 2021.
Yes, and I will say that we are working on deciding how we are going to hold that meeting. Governor Lee's executive order expired last night, actually. And so we are looking at potentially a hybrid meeting where we may have the commission be in person and then applicants and citizens be remote still. So we're working on that, but we will be getting you information when we figure out the best process on how we are going to proceed with meetings in the future.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have some meetings in person.
Yes.
I think it's more fair to, I also think it's more fair to the public and in their presentation process too.
Well, and we have had a lot of discussions about that, and you know, there is something to be said for the ability for people to be able to remote in. So there's a good balance there that we're going to continue to look at. So I think that yeah, trying to continue to give the most accessible ability for everyone is what we're going to keep doing. So
Okay. So can I have a motion to adjourn? Somebody?
Motion to adjourn this meeting.
Okay, can I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.